Let's welcome now the president of the National Taxpayers Union, Pete Sepp. Pete, it strikes me that the American people, the polls, now we're going to talk about polls later, you can believe them or not, but they're not crazy about what's going on here. And I don't think they know the details that you and I might know about the big, beautiful bill. What they do know is they're not cutting spending, that they're not cutting the deficit, at least if the reports are accurate, if the estimates are accurate, and they may not be. So what do you think needs to be done to get this palatable and through Congress and to be popular with the American people?
I think the first steps that need to be taken here are to tell the truth far and wide about the importance of the tax relief provisions for all Americans. Senate's bill, for example, does some great things in making permanent what I call the big three of business boosts. In other words, full and immediate expensing of equipment, a permanent research and development deduction credit, also the extension and making permanent a way that companies can write off certain taxes involved with large investments involving a lot of debt. That benefits American workers. That benefits retirees and those investing for their education, because when the business and the business activity grows, people have more money in their pockets at the wage earner level and at the investor level. Those are very important to explain. And the child tax credit in the Senate version gets bigger. The increase is made permanent and it's indexed to inflation. Those are going to deliver huge benefits. But the second half, as you say, is talking about how we're going to get a handle on the big federal spending programs. Admirably, I had thought that the Senate would go the opposite way and start to say, well, we can't do anything to reform Medicaid and restore it to a sound financial condition. They're actually taking steps that will make the program more fiscally sound and responsible. We got to explain that more to the American people. And again, we have got to show that Congress is serious about doing something to reduce the national debt.
Pete, where there is a lot of controversy is what the Senate is doing on Medicaid. Dr. Oz was on National Report earlier today. He says the healthcare lobbyists are at the forefront of spreading these false narratives about the big, beautiful bill's impact on Medicaid. Let's take a listen.
There is no scenario, not in this bill, not in any that I've seen, where we're not spending more money on Medicaid. In fact, about $200 billion more on Medicaid. But here's the deal. We don't have a stable system anymore. Medicaid expenses have gone up 50% in the last 5 years. So we should spend more as needed to take care of Americans. But we shouldn't blow it up with another $1 trillion thrown at a problem that we're not addressing adequately with the money we're already investing in these issues.
Yeah.
So one of the things that the Democrats are hitting Republicans on is the fact that Medicaid is going to be cut and your grandmother is going to lose coverage. Can you address that?
Absolutely wrong. And Secretary Dr. Oz is absolutely right when it comes to this. There is no cutting of Medicaid going on. In fact, what they're trying to do is end some of the ways that states scam Medicaid for more money through provider taxes that the providers gladly pay in order to get a bigger share of federal loot. That activity has got to stop. Older folks, disabled folks, those who had been on Medicaid long before the Medicaid system expanded under Obamacare won't be touched. What they're talking about is putting good guardrails on this program so that it will, in fact, survive for those who need it most. They're not throwing people who need it most off the Medicaid rolls.
Pete, real quick, do you think that the Senate is going to meet their July 4th deadline?
If they don't meet the deadline, they will come very close. I think that the work that the committees have been doing, both last week and this week, with their final drafts of the various parts of the One Big Beautiful Bill in the Senate, have gone very well. Now, whether it will get held up in the Rules Committee or on the floor, preventing the final votes, until past July 4th, yeah, that's an open question, but I think they're making excellent progress here. The Senate's version doesn't have all of the advantages, but it has made some improvements to the House version that will be very important to retain in the final bill.
All right, Pete Sepp, thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.